You can be as negative as you want. That is not going to help you at all. The good thing is, if it is negative, you can just give yourself just a little bit more positivity and a little bit more positivity. And at least you're up here and not down here anymore.
Sorry.
The other thing that I 100% stand on is forgiveness is the greatest power that there is. 100%. Whether that is forgiving the person that tried to take your life. And that doesn't mean that you have to be best friends with them, but that just means that you are freeing yourself or freeing them from any control, like I said before, of anything that you have going on in here. Like, this is mine. And I wear all of this as these scars are badges to me. You know what I mean? These are for me.
Today's episode of the ProGuide is brought to you by Small Pond Productions, the producers of this podcast. If you're looking to boost your brand's voice with professional end-to-end podcast production, whether it's an interview show or telling stories with audio, we walk you through every step of the process to make you sound great. Head to our website and download the free Podcasting Made Simple guide. 8 critical things you need to know before launching your brand's podcast. It's all available at smallpond.productions. Welcome everybody to this episode of the ProGuide, where we talk to leaders in business, technology, and creativity, anywhere that there's a story worth sharing. And today we're so honored to be able to have Jordan Hardgrow. He's an independent personal trainer as well as a coach at Fit14. And back in January of 2021, Jordan encountered a life-altering assault that nearly ended his life, and we'll get into that. But before we do, Jordan, thank you so much for joining us, and stoked to be able to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to talk about it too, man.
You share a ridiculously good story, and honestly, it's a life-defining event, almost a life-ending event. And I think I even heard you use the word gift, which is when you first hear this story, you're like, how can this possibly be a gift? But I would love it if, as difficult as it was to go through, can you step us back, take us through the story, and just kind of share? Let's dig in. Let's hear about what happened.
Of course. So flashback to even beforehand, the pandemic. So at that point in my life, I was always into fitness. I was just in the gym, in and out. I had clients here and there. And loved to move my body. I was living in San Diego at the time. Mm-hmm. And we kind of got lucky, with the pandemic in that sense.
Yeah.
In Ohio, it's rain and everything. You don't have to worry too much about maybe staying inside. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not so bad. So flash forward to January 16, 2021. I am getting ready to leave a date. Mm-hmm. Everything was going fine there. And just to give you some more context again, with San Diego being what it is, it's a big city. So when you are there downtown, there's cars everywhere. I knew where I was, but just at the time, borrowing a roommate's car, my car had crapped the bed, and I just bought a new car, but it's a stick shift. And unfortunately, I don't know how to drive stick shift. I don't know how to do that. So after I leave my date, I'm trying to find my car. And I am not somebody who is confrontational. Like, I'm on my business and get to where I have to go. But as I'm looking for my car, little do I know I'm being followed. And so obviously, again, I can tune out most of it. But it got to the point where I end up getting cut off, like ends up stepping in front of me or what have you. If I'm like thinking back to it, for the most part, like, I don't want to say that he cut me off to the point where I stopped walking. I can remember myself like feeling somebody coming towards me, like almost if I'm waiting for them to come up to me. And a lot of this is like from witness testimony. I can kind of jump in and out. Mm-hmm. But I talked to the guy and I'm like, what's going on here? Are we going to fight? What's happening? And mind you, again, while he's following me, he's like harassing me. I don't remember what he's saying, but he's saying something. And we get into a fight. I can't remember how the fight went or anything, but I can remember the point of getting stabbed my first like couple times. Yeah. And that hits you different, right? You're in shock at first. I feel like man, it's funny. Like even looking back in 2024, 3 years ago, I feel like I asked him, I was like, did you just stab me?
Like, what just happened? Yeah. Seriously?
Right, dude. Like what? And so at that point, I know I got stabbed a couple more times, and I guess I ended up falling backwards. This is in front of people. So there's witnesses everywhere, and I guess some good Samaritan came and like pulled him off of me as I fall back, and he breaks free and ends up running next to me and kneeling down and then stabbed me a number like 15, 20 plus times. So, I mean, you can imagine what that scene looks like. I can definitely remember being on my back and kind of looking up. It's funny. I can remember what it feels like to like have that pain settle in, and you'd be surprised. It's more like getting punched, if that makes sense. People are trying to keep me awake. There was an ambulance that came almost immediately. It took me in. From then, I don't remember much. I remember waking up the next couple of days and being in a hospital. I worked in a hospital for a long time, so I can kind of get my bearings there. And my mom, who's from Ohio, is a nurse, and she was bedside. So I think at that point, no matter what was going on in the setting, at least I knew I was safe. I was like, okay, my mom's here, being well taken. Again, I'm still not sure what was going on at the time. We're like making small talk, and it's funny. I say this every single time I tell the story, but it's true because I can remember. They put you on so many painkillers, all that kind of stuff. I was like, after we got done with the small talk, because I'm surprised that she's, next to me in San Diego. I'm like, Mom, do I have COVID? Like, why are you here? Like, fill me in.
What's going on?
And so she let me know then, she's like, honey, no, you're not here for COVID. You actually got, assaulted and stabbed. And at that point, I was taken back. It wasn't like I was devastated, maybe because it didn't like hit me right away. And then give you more context, like this is after the fact, but when all that happened, I had lost a lot of blood. Yes. I got stabbed twice in the heart. I got stabbed in both lungs, and I got stabbed in my midsection. So they had to go in, give me open heart surgery. My heart ended up stopping. So they had to like go in, like literally massage my heart, try to bring it back. They had to go in, they had to resection some of my small intestines because of how bad the damage was. And I mean, dude, there's a huge gash here. And they had to put chest tubes in me to pump my lungs since both of them were deflated. I think they ended up putting in over 10 units of blood, which pretty much is as much blood as you have in your body. So, cardiac arrest, the whole nine, man. It's wild.
Wow.
Anyway, after that, I'm in the hospital for 3 more weeks. With it being COVID, I was by myself. And that'll do stuff to you. I feel like at the time, everything I went through beforehand, thankfully, I had practiced a lot of just like mindfulness and being positive, and that came through for me big time. And now with that, like I was probably in the best shape of my life before all that happened. So even the surgeons were like, thank goodness you were. We could get to everything super quick. And yeah, man, since then, I mean, you something like that happens to you, and you have a choice. Like you can either like let it consume you. You can literally, and I feel like when I say that, hopefully that is a message to people that I had every right and still have every right to like feel like I was victimized there, right? Yeah. Like when nobody could fault me for that. But I feel like I don't want to live my life that way. That was 100% out of my control, and all I can do is handle what I can't control. I feel like if I let something like that consume me, then I'm giving power to whoever did that to me.
That's right.
And they don't deserve that. So, yeah, man, 3 years later, training, enjoy what I'm doing, man, and I can't complain at all.
We'll get into some of the mindset stuff here in a second. It's absolutely not anywhere near on the scale of what you're talking about. I have been through life-altering events before. Of the one time I didn't wear a seatbelt in a car when I was 19, got the facial reconstruction surgery and just destroyed a lot of my face, and just basically had to go through a couple of weeks of having your jaw wired shut and surgery and stuff. And for that issue, for that event, actually the only person I had to blame was myself for not wearing the seatbelt myself. I would have been fine if I would have done that. So knowing those sorts of like things that happen that have the potential to be, or really can be, life-altering, life-defining events. When you look back on that, is there anything that really hits you at the perspective, at the identity level, where you say, you know what, I used to see things one way, but because of what went through and how it changed and shaped me, I see something different, even just fundamentally at the identity level. Is there anything that fits that category for you?
Maybe, if anything, it probably enhanced the feelings that I had, like tenfold. I feel like a lot of the time I spent, instead of like reflecting on what I was going through, I spent thinking about my loved ones and what they were experiencing, because that's a whole different side of the trauma, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, of course it happened to me, but I couldn't imagine if that happened to somebody I loved. And not only that, like after everything happened, I'm in the hospital fine, but nobody knew where I was. So before anybody even got that information, they were looking for me. I mean, on the streets, like trying to figure out where I was. And so if anything, it shows or reassured me that I have a great support group, and that's hard to come by. I feel like it's funny. There's been times where you think deep enough, and I'm sure with your situation, you probably have too, where you try your hardest not to blame yourself.
Yeah.
Because without being blunt, the damage has been done.
Yeah.
So what the focus needed to be on was healing. And there was times, I guess moments, where I would wake up confused, not knowing where I am. And you have all these, like, dude, I had so many, like I had a tube feeding me through my nose. I had, like, again, tubes coming out of both sides of my body and where my lungs are. I had like a tube down here collecting, I don't know what's coming out of me. And you wake up, dude, and you're looking around, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a real thing. I just want to be able to take these things out and be okay. And I think being even more present and just trying to focus on the next couple seconds ahead of you was something that definitely gave me much more of a perspective of gratitude.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Like, again, even in that, like even everything that was going on, man, it could have been so much worse.
I think about that for it. There are some ways that it maybe fundamentally shifts you at the identity level to think like, I did see things here, now I see them over this way, and it's just kind of naturally flows for me. What are some ways that you feel like maybe even it's, and this is a crazy phrase to use, but like improved you? Like, is there anything that was like a struggle to think or a struggle to do prior to this event that now afterwards you're like, that's actually easier now for me to see things this way or to do things this way?
It's funny because you talk about a gift, and I still use it. It's crazy to think that you still kind of go through the everyday things that everybody else does, right? I got to put my pants on one leg at a time. But there are some times where I get inside of my head. I mean, even, I'm sure you understand with podcasting, if you don't have a system down and you're just trying to figure out the ins and the outs, it can get overwhelming. And sometimes, like in those moments, which I have a lot, whether it's like trying to educate people, put my content out there and just be okay with it being mine, not worry too much about other opinions. I have to tell myself, like, man, do you know what you just went through? Like, you're good. Like that there's so much worse things out there. I think that makes it easier. It's funny again because you go back and once you step away from it all and you feel like you've truly healed, in a weird, like just dark way, you almost hold that trauma tight. And you kind of want it to get you through harder times without having to put in the hard work. And so like when that hard work comes and you're like, man, I went through so much. Why isn't this easier? But you think about it, you're like, man, you know what? Sometimes you might just be a little bit inside your head. You're stronger than you think. Yeah.
It's interesting because it's hard, but it's hard in a different way. Like this event is a platform you stand on. You say, if I can go through that, then what am I afraid of? Like I can't be afraid of anything.
Right.
But on the other side of that, there's also like, you just mentioned to yourself, you put your pants on one leg at a time. There's days that you go through where it's just like, it's just another day. Did that even just happen to me? Like, what in the world is going on? So I'm curious, are there ways in which, I mean, it does feel like life has gone back to normal in some slices. Do you find that? Or do you find like, no, this has really kind of fundamentally shifted everything?
Dude, it's in the middle of both. You, like you said, you have the days where you get up, you smell some fresh air, you're like, you know what? This is right.
Yeah.
And then you get up the next day and you're like, man, that happened yesterday, well, 3 years ago. And there's, again, I feel like that's the thing, like finding the rootedness of it all, because you think about it too much and you can put yourself in a whirlwind fast.
Yeah.
So in that respect, it's a little bit of both, man. Some days I wake up and I feel like I am the strongest being that I can possibly be. And then other days I wake up and I'm like, I think that some things that do help, and I should do it a little bit more just for nothing else but for myself. I journal. I got my journal right here, like ready to go. So I journal. I should do it a lot more as far as like making it ritualistic. Whenever I do have thoughts, I'm jotting down. Yes. There'd be some times where I'm like, every day I need to do it. And then I think when you force it like that, it makes it less impactful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really is a muscle you have to build. And then, again, I did it all throughout the pandemic just because at the time I'd lost both my jobs. This is like before, like I was like, I'm going to take personal training is going to be the way to go. One of my buddies who is a very, very good influence on my life. He introduced me to an app called 10%. And on 10%, it's a mindfulness app. You just turn it on. You can find different like courses, and like you can just practice meditation for 5 minutes, or you can practice meditation for like 10 to 15, 20 minutes. And so I found that great, especially when you had like nothing else to do, but to just sit in your thoughts and really just identify what's going on. So if that answers the question, like those are some tools that I do use, but again, just like everybody else, like you go through it, you have the positive times, you have the negative times. I think the thing that I'm trying to work on the most right now is trying to figure out how to stay centered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not try to ride the highs too high. Understand that's what it is. Be in the moment, and then bring it back to the middle.
Yeah.
And then it's just the same thing with the lows. If the lows are really low, like understand that that's what it is. Give myself time to experience it, and then bring it back to the middle. So
it's great.
That's what I'm really trying to work on now.
Great advice. Yeah. One of the mentors in my life, his name is Jeff, always had this saying where he's like, the key to being a really good leader is to not like scream like a kid when everything's great, or to feel like the world's collapsing around you when things aren't great, but just to look at that next step and say, okay, what's next? You know, keeping your face forward and saying what's next. I mean, that's what I hear, which is really, really difficult when you experience a significant emotional event that's like a 10 out of 10, and it's not just emotions, right. Like you're physically affected by this thing too. So, kudos to that. Talk to me a little bit about what would you say it is that you are passionate about? Like if you had a soapbox, you had the free billboard, you had the 30-second Super Bowl ad, and you have just kind of an opportunity to say something to the planet, like as of right now, and I know that changes, and I know that we change as people too, but like at this moment, you take a snapshot of kind of what it is that you stand on right now. What would that message be that you would share with people?
The biggest message that I would share with anybody is genuineness and like authenticity is at the core of a soul. I feel like there's so much that's going around right now, and it's so confusing to figure out who you are, what you want to be, what you want to do. And that all comes back into who you are. And I feel like when we think about that, it's hard because like standing and believing in that means like you should feel comfortable enough to, if there is a big billboard, to believe in that thing, whatever that is. I feel like I enjoy helping people, all of my clients that I work with. And sometimes I feel bad even calling them clients. They're friends.
Yeah.
They really are. I'm sure just as an entrepreneur, you kind of have to separate the work itself from the passion, right? Because there's sometimes where just you're not going to have the same vibe with everybody. That's not fair to put that on people. With that being said, again, that all comes down into being able to reflect and being present. I think those things feed your soul. And if I had to add to that billboard, man, one, positivity is always going to win. You can be as negative as you want. That is not going to help you at all. The good thing is, if it is negative, you can just give yourself just a little bit more positivity and a little bit more positivity. And at least you're up here and not down here anymore.
That's right.
The other thing that I 100% stand on is forgiveness is the greatest power that there is. 100%. Whether that is forgiving the person that tried to take your life. And that doesn't mean that you have to be best friends with them, but that just means that you are freeing yourself or freeing them from any control, like I said before, of anything that you have going on in here. Like, this is mine. And I wear all of this as these scars are badges to me. You know what I mean? These are for me. So that's what it would be. If I give you a slogan, wear your scars proud.
That's awesome. I'm going to leave that there. Holy moly. Talk to me, Jordan, about if you're interested in having folks connect with you, find out what you're up to. How can they keep up with whatever you're up to?
So I am a spider, meaning I have all different legs kind of everywhere. I'm hoping to condense it down a little bit, but if you're looking for some short form content, please hop on TikTok. Jordan Hardgrow is where I'm at. My Instagram as well. That will be J_work21. I also have a blog that I've been working on. So Jordan Space. Hopefully that'll give everybody a good amount. I talk about it all the time and I throw it in and out, and hopefully I can get back into it. Mm-hmm. And Angie might have just inspired me some more as getting back into podcasting. Yeah. I have about 30 episodes out, and it's called The Respawn Pod. If you guys are nerds like me, I'm into video games, and usually if you're playing a Halo or what have you, and you die, you get that chance to respawn and come back, and that's pretty much exactly what happened to me. So I'm always talking about fitness for the most part, but I'm in all kinds of nerdy stuff. Anime, if you're into that. I love movies, I love TV. I just try to be as authentic as I can, and hopefully it just gives anybody who is interested in hearing the story or trying to follow me to give a good reason to. So that's where you can find me.
That's cool. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us, man. This has been awesome.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it, babe.
And our thanks to all of you for listening. If you're looking for a quick way to make our day, a review in iTunes or subscribing to this podcast would mean the world to us. Our thanks to Small Pond Productions for sponsoring. And this was the ProGuide. Learn from leaders, change your life. See you, everybody.